our first session is called Meet Staffbase Campus. So this is really about talking about what exactly campus is, why we're here, what we're doing today. And I'm joined by Kyla Sims and Frank Wolf. Maybe you guys can give a quick introduction to yourself, maybe starting off with Kyla.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kyla. I'm the Principal Audience Engagement Manager here at Staffbase, which means I run Comms Unity, our Slack group for communicators, and I host our podcast, Infernal Communication.
Thanks, Kyla.
Awesome.
And I'm Frank Wolf. And I'm Frank Wolf. I'm one of the co-founders of Staffbase. Been a consultant many years before founding Staffbase, so worked with a lot of teams in internal communication around, especially also the tech. And I was very lucky in my career to have been working in different geographies. So I worked a lot in Europe with companies, but also in the US. Moved over with my family to New York a couple of years ago, and now back to Europe. But it's so good to see different countries, different companies, different cultures, and bring this all together. Yeah, that's pretty exciting from my side.
Awesome. Thanks so much that both of you are joining us today. So then let's kick this session off. We did our intros already. So today, why we're here is a very, very important and special day for Staffbase. Quick shout out to the campus team. So this team and I have been sitting in a closed room for a year, building this project, and we're super, super excited to share it with the world today. What is Staffbase Campus? It's an online learning platform for internal communication, Well, we're off to a good start, where we offer free training in bite-sized modules that suit your day-to-day life, because we have a lot of insight into how it kind of looks and how difficult it is to learn. And the way it works is that you are able to get certified through Staffbase Campus, and for every lesson that you complete, you're able to collect badges. We've added the QR code there, so if you are interested in checking it out, we'll also be sharing the link with you in the chat as we go. And so basically what I just wanted to talk through today is like, where did this start, right? So why are we doing this? What's the beginning of this? And actually, Kyla and Frank are joining me for this because they've both been really involved in projects close to this and aligned to this over the last years. And so maybe starting off with you, Frank, because I remember that when I started off with education within Staffbase, you were the person that I worked with the most. So what was it that you realized years back that, there was a demand for education and internal comms? Why did we start going into this direction? What were the insights that you had?
Yeah, it's really great to see the love you get, Kyla, here in the audience.
I know, I'm like blushing. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's really cool. So guys, everyone keep it coming. I think the main idea was we are pretty much reacting on a lot of questions that we got. And a lot of the questions that I got all the time in my career working with internal communicators was, what are others doing? Like that's one of the most important questions we get. And the other one is, especially if you're new to the job and new to the role, it's a big question around like, what's actually part of this role? Like I hear so many things and there's so many ideas what communication, employee communication is all about. And we said, hey, we see so many companies, we talk to so many experts in the market. Let's start to bring this together and like put this out, what this could mean, right? And the idea here is to say, here's a model, here's our point of view, what's part of employee communications. Here's a point of view, how you can sort of measure or assess it, where you are with your organization. And here's content, and here's actually a learning opportunity, what to do better, how to learn from other experts in the market. So that was really the main driver for us. Internal is internal, you can't see it. It's much easier to look at the website of another company and say, they're doing a great website. It's so hard to look at another intranet, another app, another communications campaign that another company is running. And that's pretty much what we are doing.
I'll add a slide here because what you spoke about, right, very much resulted in this IC maturity model, right? Some of that research going into just being able to give communicators an overview of, so what are the key 4 areas, right? And then what is the information in this. And the reason we bring this along today is because basically all of our curriculum that we're working out on Staffbase Campus is really based on this model. I also have a more detailed kind of view of the different topics that are in here, which we won't go into too much detail. But I would like to quickly share a poll and see if our poll function works today. So looking at these kind of 4 areas, right? Strategy, communication, engagement, and optimization, like what would you say is the area that you would like to focus on next? Checking if the poll popped up. Yes, popped up on my side. I can see it. Great. And while we wait for those answers to come in, Kyla, so what about you? So you've been really close to the audience, especially for the last years, and as we can see, people know you and are fans of yours. What's been your impression of learning in the IC space and the demand and need?
Yeah. So, in 2020, we saw this real hunger for resources and continuing education, which totally makes sense. Comms folks were dealing with new situations that required particular expertise and skills, and the stakes just felt a lot higher than they'd ever been before. And, folks weren't always super confident and things were very uncertain. And there was this real need for access to answers and expertise, which is a big reason why we started Comms Unity, our big Slack group, in the first place. The whole idea was trying to help comms folks connect and support each other and share knowledge. And I think what's really beautiful about the community is that comms folks from all levels are helping each other out. So nowadays, almost every week, we see the question, what course are you taking? What books are you reading? Where are you learning? What should I do? What should I do with my professional development budget? And so, that hunger is still there. And I think campus is just that natural extension of this desire to help and connect comms people so they can feel confident and make a real difference in their orgs and their careers. And it also gives us a chance to create, expert-backed resources for the most common challenges we see in the community. So there's this real responsiveness to the needs of the community, which I love. And, for example, there's always someone talking about engagement. How do we engage employees? Is it this, that, or the other thing? There's always questions about audits. There's always questions about strategy and templates and measuring and benchmarks, so these are all things that are covered in our Comms 101 certificate. So I think that's really beautiful. And we can speak to that, right away. So it's this, I really love how the community has, expressed this need and campus has really answered the call. And so I think it's going to be really great for comms folks.
I really hope so. That would be fantastic because that's what this is all for, right? So, this is just a connection because you also mentioned Comms Unity. So we'll share a link to Comms Unity in the chat as well for anyone who's not part of the community just yet. And Kyla, you already touched on what's in store on campus and you mentioned the Comms 101 certificate. So we'll also just be sharing a little bit today what we have set up already and what's to expect in the future. So one certificate that we have live is called Comms 101, which is 13 short lessons, just kind of giving you the 360 overview of what's part of comms. It's not super in depth and it's not supposed to be. It's really about getting that overview. So it's great for anyone who wants to kind of pinpoint what is the next area you want to really dive deeper into, or for anyone starting out in comms and who just really wants to understand what's part of that bigger picture. And you may recognize a theme. So we're always kind of grouping into these areas, right? Strategize, communicate, engage, and optimize. So this, strategize is very much about setting goals, getting to know your audience, messaging, communicate is, planning channel mixes, content formats, engagement, about that two-way conversation between the company and the employees, and optimize is very much about the team and about measurement. And so we just shared the poll with you a couple of minutes ago, and I'm just looking at the results here. And we asked the same question at Voices last year. And the results are very, very similar. So for Strategize last year, it was about 35%. And here in the chat, I see we're at 44. So people are very interested in Strategize. And it's actually very similar. Engage is also the highest scoring area from what we see here. So I'm happy to see that that's still the case. And the good news is that's also what we focused on first. Side note, so we said Voices, right? For anyone who's joining today. So our Voices conference is coming up in New York on the 26th and 27th of April. And anyone who's joining us today, we have a special 50% off for tickets if you are interested. So there's a QR code that you can scan here, and we'll also share with you in the chat a link to the event for more information and where you can register. And that brings me to our next certificate. So, right, because we've been seeing very much that strategy has been a really key point of what people have been interested in learning. We try to focus on this first, and the second session that we have in the event today is really dedicated to this Strategize Expert certification that we're launching today as well, which is 6 lessons really diving deep into how to become a trusted strategic partner in your organizations, for any communicator who really wants to go deep into strategy, build out a complex strategy, and also just meeting the needs of what exactly that requires today. Kyla, Frank, did that surprise you with like the 4 areas like that people are always interested in: strategy and engagement?
I'll let Frank go first.
I think there's a question that many know, like, do you have a written down strategy? I think communicators probably get this asked pretty often. So I think it's a big desire to do that. And we've seen in the Gallagher State of the Sector communication study, where people were asked, like, what's your priorities in 2023? And like in the top 3 was also, I want to get out another employee communications strategy. So I think it's a desire to have a plan, because we see, and we can only say that's a really good idea, because if you have a plan, you know what you want to do, but you also can say no to other things, right? So you can drive more your own topics that are not like more driven by a lot of stakeholders in the company wanting things from comms, right? So not a big surprise. The only surprise or challenge I would put here to the audience is usually a second topic that's delicate. Let's put it like this: it's measurement. I've seen 8% measurement here, right? So that's not very high. So I think 2 major things to develop the function is, 1, be more strategic, have the plan, but the other one is also have a better way to show your results and really what you're bringing to the organization. So I think that's something where we have also a lot of good content, and that will also be quite important moving forward. Kyla, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. You know, I think if you were to categorize every thread or question that's ever been asked in Comms Unity, I would put money on 85% of them being about some sort of strategy. So it doesn't surprise me at all. There's a real hunger for it, and there's a real hunger for just seeing what other people are doing and doing it the right way. So I think people really want to be strategic, but they're not exactly sure where to start or like what that actually involves. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But it's a good, I still think it's a good sign. But I agree with you, Frank, that the optimize, the measurement piece is sad. Like the little 8% there of people who are interested in that, because personally, that's my favorite. Like, I love that stuff, and I think it's really interesting. And I think communicators, if they just, got over their fear of numbers, I think they would really love it too, because it can really drive strategy.
Absolutely. And like we sometimes made the joke, if you have the 4 areas and you say, if you start the function and you're thrown in the water, right? The first thing people say, communicate, like you just put stuff out. The next thing people will ask you, like, what's the result, right? Once you say, like, what's the result? I don't know. You realize in order to measure results, you have to have a strategy, because without a strategy, you don't even have the goals you want to measure against, right? Once you have the goals and you measure, you realize, oh, my reach is actually not as good as I wanted. And the things that I reach, I need more engagement. Like, how do I get people in the channel and so on? So it's funny. There's a certain order of events that drives communicators through this, especially if you're new in the role. If you're more experienced, I know it's more like a yearly or a quarterly cycle.
I'll take that opportunity into looking at what we actually have inside of the strategy expert certificate. So many of the things that you've also like touched on already, and we'll dive into this a bit deeper in the next session as well. And the other like sort of final piece that we have available on campus at the moment is, so we're starting with a full platform expert training. So for any of our customers who are looking to well, basically just freshen up their skills, try to go more deeper into a specific area, or onboard new people into the team. So we're launching a whole suite of like for the different solutions platform trainings, of which we're launching the first, which is email editor and email admin today. But we'll do a separate session coming up in the future very soon, just dedicated to customers and getting better understanding of these certificates. I did want to touch a little bit on
maybe one short point about this point to clarify this. Maybe it's clear for everyone. I think what was very important for us here is to say the general learning is something that is independent from Staffbase. So you like, no matter if you use Staffbase or not, like that's open to everyone in the market. It's also freely available. So it's at no cost. You can go to the site and get the certificate. So that's, there's some Staffbase examples in there, but it's like whatever you have, that's free to learn. And what you just shown is there's this course where we say, okay, if you're a Staffbase customer, here's more details about how to do things with the Staffbase platform, right? Maybe to clarify that.
Perfect. Thank you for it. Yeah, sometimes, when you've been in a topic for so long, you don't know how to like pull away and just like realize that people might not have the full context. And I think I'm having definitely one of those phases. I've just been so deep into this for the last year. There's two things I just wanted to highlight as well in terms of like what's special about campus. And so the one piece is really that we have been working with experts from the industry, and a lot of them you will see in today's event as well, because we wanted to not just share our opinion of what we think is happening out there, but we wanted to really speak to people who are working in comms every single day. Of course, we are in an interesting position being a software vendor for communication space in terms of our network. And so basically that's one of the things that we've tried to really weave into the content. So you'll see a lot of the expert actually in the lessons, sharing best practices, examples, and tips from their experience. And I wanted to also just, sorry, I'm spacing out a little bit, sorry about that. For me, like, I think what the key thing for us was really that, we were really looking to build something that would be like for the group, right? That would really be from the collective and for the collective. And I think Kyla, in terms of like connecting to the community and the industry, I mean, you've done just all of your work is really based around that. And I know in a lot of conversations you've also been sharing with me that just kind of bringing all these expert insights together has been just really, really valuable. So yeah, I guess I was wondering in your perspective, like bringing this together here, like what do you think the benefit is, right, of kind of combining all this knowledge together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just the accumulation of the power of our community and our network. So, Staffbase has worked really hard to build these relationships with some of the most skilled comms practitioners and consultants and partners and, community members in the space. And we have access to thousands of customers from the world's hugest brands that work in some of the most sophisticated, successful comms departments in the world. So, the information you're getting is top notch, the best that you can get. And it's practical. It's people who have actually implemented these learnings and have actually know from experience that this is the right thing to do. So I think the information you're getting is really, really great. And the info is coming from people who are connected to the community and making a real impact. And so, what I think is really cool about it is like all of these people who you see on the side here are super accessible. They're very visible. They're actual people that you can connect with and learn from in the community as well. So I think that there's just something really beautiful about that, of having this epic sort of brain trust, one of the largest in the industry, I would argue, and just having everyone contribute. Like, I can't imagine there's a better place to go and learn about communications when you have so many experts in one spot. So I think that's really what sets campus apart from other learning.
And then the other piece that we try to bring together, for which Frank, I wanted to just ask you to speak on this a little bit. So basically that our curriculum is really data driven. So we developed this internal comms maturity model. And maybe Frank, you can just speak on that a little bit and how that's been influencing just the areas that we've picked for the learning.
Yeah, it's pretty much a questionnaire or survey that we built based on the 4 areas, where we say, okay, each of the area has like 3 subtopics that we think are very important if you think about communications. Based on that, we said it would be good to get some data in the market and help teams to actually assess what they're currently doing against this model. So we created, I think it's 28 questions that you can answer. It takes about 10 minutes. We shared a link also in the chat, so it's, I think, pretty easy to do. It's also a fun activity to actually do this in the team, in a team meeting, because surprisingly, sometimes teams have very different point of views about the majority of certain things that they are doing. And what it helped us is to get also some real data from companies, like where they are, where they see challenges, where they're pretty happy with what they're doing. So, for instance, we've seen some data around there's a good uptake of leaders really buying in the importance of comms in the past couple of years. We see some typical challenges around measurement, around communication training for line managers, for instance, and so on. So some things that we know that need some improvement, but that also helped us to sort of put in the work to say, hey, let's create this content because there's really questions out there what to do.
Perfect, thank you so much. And well, there's that old thing of showing versus telling, right? So I figured let's dive into Campus a little bit. Just gonna configure my screen sharing here so that I can actually show you what our beautiful platform looks like today. So this is it in real life. And so when you register, you'll be able to sign up over here. Right now, for me, this is sign in. And the reason I just wanted to kind of navigate through this a little bit is so that you know exactly where to go to find things. One of the pieces is also we're offering content in German and in English. And right now this is living in one space. So for anyone speaking English, I don't want you to get scared by the German content. So when you land, this is where you start off. So here you'll be able to see are the certificates that we're offering at the moment, which, you know, Strategize Expert, we said Comms 101 and Email Expert. And then what we've also done here is just kind of pull out what are all the different lessons that are part of these individual certificates. So if you're interested specifically in developing your team or interaction gamification, as opposed to kind of doing the complete certificate, this is the part that's interesting for you. And now in terms of what these look like, I'm actually so excited to be seeing this. You know, it's really been such a journey putting all of this together, and now seeing it live is just so fantastic. So if we hop into one of these lessons, so this is the experience that you'll get, right? So it usually starts off with a quick intro on what you'll be able to see, and we've tried to really keep it interactive and engaging. So there's a lot of video content, but it's kept very short, 2 to 3 minutes to explain key concepts to you, highlighting kind of glossary items to understand. And there's a lot of ways to just like interact with the content as you go through it. So we hope this is a really engaging experience for anyone taking part in it, and we hope you explore it and check it out. And just with the eye on time, I have just one last slide to share, which is just about what we have planned for the future. And it will be nothing new, because it basically connects back to the 4 areas, right? So now we've launched Strategize, the expert certificate. And then the next thing coming up is Communicate as an expert certification, Engage as an expert certification, as well as Optimize as an expert certification. I realize the screen sharing is not working at the moment, but I have a fantastic slide that would show you all of these things. And then the other thing is that, of course, we are kind of building out the platform certifications as we go over the year as well. And that brings us to the end for today. If you have any, for this session, if you have any kind of questions related to the content that we just shared, please feel free to write them into the chat. Other than that, like Kyla, Frank, thanks so much for joining me on this session. I think I'll be joined by Travis again in just a second while we wait to kick off the second session for today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks, Sarah. I think you said it was quite an experience. I think it was especially hard work
Yes.
for everyone involved. So yeah, really, really great to see this going live. And really thankful, especially for all the external experts to contribute here, bring in their knowledge. So that's it. That's really exciting for I guess for the whole community here. So fantastic to see this getting started.